Your Magnificence, Oliver Moravčík, Rector of the Slovenska University of Technology in Bratislava, Magnificence, Rectors of Partner Universities, Honorabilities, Vice Rectors of Partner Universities and the Slovak University of Technology, Spectabilities, Deans of Partner Faculties and the Slovak University of Technology, respected members of the Scientific Board, respected members of the Academic Senate, respected guests. I have the honor of opening today's ceremonial assembly of the Scientific Board of the Slovak University of Technology, which is taking place on the occasion of conferring the title of Doctor honoris causa to Bernard Lucas Feringa and Jean-Marie. Allow me to sincerely welcome all of you to today's academic ceremony. Respected ceremonial assembly, the Scientific Board of the Slovak University of Technology has decided to confer the title of Doctor honoris causa to Bernard Lucas Feringa on the session on 19 October 2022, the request of His Magnificence Oliver Moravčík. I request His Spectability Anton Gatial, the Dean of the Faculty of Chemical and Food Technology of the Slovak University of Technology in Bratislava, to accompany the ceremonial assembly with the accomplishments of the doctorand Bernard Lucas Feringa.
Your Magnificence, your Spectabilities and Honorabilities, dear candidates of Doctor honoris causa, dear members of the Scientific Councils, dear colleagues and students, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Bernard Lucas Feringa was born in 1951 in Barger, Mansum in Netherlands. He did undergraduate and graduate study in chemistry at the University of Groningen during the period 1969 and 1978, and PhD at the Department of Organic Chemistry, University of Groningen, on thesis Asymmetric Oxidation of Phenol, supervised by Professor Hans Wingberg. After working as a research scientist at Shell in the Netherlands and at the Shell Biosciences Center in the United Kingdom, in 1984 he was appointed as a lecturer in organic chemistry, and in 1988 as a full professor at the University of Groningen. In 2004, he was named the Jacobs Van Hoff Distinguished Professor of Molecular Sciences. He was elected foreign honorary member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and he is member and vice president of the Royal Netherlands Academy of Sciences. In 2008, he was appointed academic professor and was knighted by Her Majesty the Queen of the Netherlands. Professor Feringa's research interest includes stereochemistry, homogeneous catalysis, organic synthesis, asymmetric catalysis, molecular organization and cell assembly, molecular switches and motors, molecular nanosystem, and photopharmacology. The research program of Professor Feringa Group is focused on synthetic organic chemistry. Over the years, a unique expertise in stereochemistry has been acquired. The goal has been to exploit the full potential of synthetic chemistry to create new structures and functions. A major part of the research is directed towards nanotechnology and novel functional materials such as molecular switches and motors. The second part of the research program deals with the development an application in chemical biology, a novel stereoselective synthesis method, and asymmetric catalysis. Control the chirality has been the guide principle in both programs. The mission of the Professor Feringa Group research program is to exploit the full potential of synthetic chemistry to create new structure, function, and chemical systems. Inspired by the nature principle of molecular recognition, assembly, catalysis, transport, and motion, the goal is to design novel, functional, supramolecular materials as well as to develop new catalysts and synthetic methodology. The three major areas in his scientific interest can be distinguished. Firstly, molecular nanoscience, this particular emphasis on the control of dynamics, including molecular switches, translational and rotary molecular motors, molecular organization and cell assembly, and multifunctional nanosystems in dynamic, complex molecular systems. A key challenge in the design of chemical systems out of thermodynamic equilibria, i.e. kinetically driven multifunctional systems. Their system approach to complex dynamic function and materials in the past decade and recent establishment of the Center for Symmetric Chemistry has greatly stimulated a strong multidisciplinary and cooperative effort at the interface between chemistry, molecular biology, physics, and surface sciences. Secondly, synthesis and catalysis, which focus on the development of asymmetric catalysis, thus replacing stoichiometry by catalytic and anti-selective methods in the synthesis of biological active compounds, catalytic oxidation and coupling reaction, and the application of novel catalytic methods in synthesis such as integration of enzyme, transition metal catalysis in multi-step or cascade type transformation. And thirdly, biohybrid system, the design of responsive biohybrid materials, artificial membranes, photopharmacology, and methodology for biomolecular imaging. In this subprogram, fundamental questions are addressed on chiral phenomena with a special emphasis on the original homochirality in the context of the European Biogenesis program and chiral amplification and autocatalysis in the frame of the Dutch Research Council and the US National Science Foundation program, astrochemistry program. Chirality is a leading term, and over the years, broad expertise has been built on fundamental aspects of chirality, including new asymmetric synthesis methodology, chirological phenomena, chiral amplification, and dynamic and supramolecular chirality. The research in the group has a strong multidisciplinarity character. Scientific work carried out with numerous collaborators from many countries has been described in more than 1,100 publications and review articles. Over the years, Professor Feringa was visiting professor at other institutions, academics, and learned societies, and has received numerous international honors and awards. In 2016, Professor Bernard Feringa was awarded the highest prize, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, for the design and synthesis of molecular machines, together with Jean-Pierre Savage and Sir Fraser Stoddart. During 25th European Colloquium on Molecular Heterocyclic Chemistry, held in 2012 in Reading in Great Britain, Professor Milata established contact with Professor Feringa, being excited by his research direction and complexity based on organic chemistry. Junction of the organic synthesis and material structure chemistry. By this, the cooperation of Professor Feringa with the Slovak University of Technology only started, and consequently, Dr. Boržíková spent a stay in his laboratory being PhD student at the Department of Organic Chemistry of the Institute of Organic Chemistry, Catalysis and Petrochemistry at the Faculty of Chemical and Food Technology of our university. And a similar stay of Dr. Bortňák will start in his laboratory in April this year. For this reason, the organizing committee of this 71st Congress of the Slovak and Czech chemists in 2019 invited him to deliver a principal lecture only 3 years after being awarded the Nobel Prize in 2016. He accepted the invitation despite extremely busy schedule. The last year, he delivered a principal lecture at the 19th Blue Danube Symposium on Heterocyclic Chemistry in Bratislava, organized by our Institute of Organic Chemistry, Catalysis and Petrochemistry at the Slovak University of Technology. The award of the title Doctor Honoris Causa to Professor Feringa is an acknowledgement of his important scientific contribution in the mentioned fields and his cooperation with the Slovak University of Technology in Bratislava, which contributed to improving research and personal growth of our students at the Faculty of Chemical and Food Technology. Professor Feringa thus contributed significantly to spreading the good name of the Slovak University of Technology in the world. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Your Respectability. Thank you, Your Respectability, for the delivering the laudatio. Your Magnificence, please take cognizance of the evaluation of the doctorand's achievements and consent to conferring the title of honor Doctor Honoris Causa.
I am hereby granting my consent to conferring the title of honor Doctor Honoris Causa upon Bernard Lucas Feringa.
Thank you, Your Magnificence, for granting the Rector's consent to the degree ceremony. I request Bernard Lucas Feringa to make the promise and take the diploma conferring the title of honor Doctor Honoris Causa from the hands of His Magnificence. Let me, Mr. Feringa, to congratulate you. The Assembly awaits your speech. Yes.
Thank you very much. I am extremely honored. Dear Rector, professors, dignitaries, representatives of the university, all distinguished attendees here today. I am really grateful for this great honor, and I appreciate the cooperation for many years, with the colleagues here at the chemistry department. In particular, I want to mention Professor Victor Milata, that I have known for so many years, the exchange we had of students, and the strong cooperation. I was asked to tell something about our research, what we are doing, and I want to share with you some of my experiences, yes? So in the art of building small, ladies and gentlemen, I am a molecular engineer. I know I'm here in a famous school of engineering in so many disciplines, but I work on molecules. So in fact, when people ask me, I'm a molecular engineer. So we try to build molecules of new materials, and I will show you a few examples of what we are doing. But we also realize that in the joy of discovery, going the path to the future, we go to ask questions to Mother Nature, to our society, to the field of knowledge. And of course, it's an adventure in the unknown. And you can plan everything, but often, of course, it's serendipity that we discover something unexpected that makes big impact and big changes. Being in humanities, being in social sciences, being in technology, being in chemistry, physics, or engineering. And of course, often we get lost in this beautiful garden, which is the garden, the paradise of knowledge and science. And we hit upon questions that we have never thought about. These are often the most important and interesting questions. So I often get the question, why do we need molecular machines? I know the engineers here build fantastic equipment, machines, etc. Why do we need nanotechnology, molecular machines? This was the same question that was asked to the Wright brothers more than 100 years ago. Why does mankind need to fly? We admire the flying pigeon, but nobody would have realized that 100 years later, after the Wright brothers, we will build an Airbus in Europe, or we build a Boeing that can carry 400 people, 1,000 kilometers an hour, 10,000 miles across the ocean. Try to do that with a pigeon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute magnificent feat of engineering where many disciplines come together. But we should also be humble, modest, because 100 years after the Wright brothers, we cannot build a pigeon. We cannot build a single cell of a pigeon. My biology friends tell me we cannot build one of the machineries of a pigeon yet. There's still a long way to go. Why fundamental science? This question comes up often in the academic community or competitions, etc. Realize, from fundamental science to modern society, what were the novel insights and discoveries that made it possible that we have now smartphones? Realize this has been a long journey. It was at the late 40s and early 50s of the past century that we built the transistors, we built the first liquid crystal display materials, and nobody had thought that there would be a smartphone. The word did not exist, It was the physics, the chemistry, the engineers, the computer scientists, and many more that made it possible. And remind you, it was a 50-year journey to the smartphone, from the fundamental discovery. And you cannot deny it completely changed the way we communicate today in our world. And don't forget, it was John Gudenau and his Japanese colleagues that invented the lithium battery in the 80s. Otherwise, we would not have smartphones to power, and also not electric cars. This is fundamental science to big advances in society. So I'm a chemist, and facing our future, chemistry is called the creating science. And we have to work on sustainable processes and products, green design, reinvented materials and energy carriers, changing the face of our chemical industry, going from trial and error to molecular design in the development of pharmaceuticals and drugs, or healthcare. There are many fundamental questions and challenges for us, challenges and perspectives for society and industry in the future. So I'm a chemist, and we build molecules and materials in the laboratory. And the beauty of that is that we can design our own molecular world, being it a material, being a sustainable plastic, being in a battery for energy storage, or maybe a new pharmaceutical. But we have a universal language, the language of the molecules in the periodic table, the atoms, that connects everything around you, everything you see here, all the molecules and materials of your own body, all the materials that we see here. We have no borders, we go beyond frontiers, that's our duty. We have international cooperation, and we share a passion for discovery. And I want to take a quote from one of my heroes, Louis Pasteur, who said already, discovering our future, science knows no country, because knowledge belongs to humanity and is the torch which illuminates the world. I think this is more appropriate than ever when you see borders, the political situations and whatever. Remind you, science knows no country. We have no borders. We go beyond borders. So, being a chemist, in the art of building small, molecular design and synthesis, we make small molecules like ethylene, 2 carbons and 4 hydrogens, here shown on the left, the basic for plastic, like your plastic bags. 160 million tons a year are produced. But we also know that there is a big challenge with plastics, you know, plastic pollution, biodegradable plastics, etc. So there are many things we have to discover. Also very complex molecules like vitamin B12, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, cobalt, very complex. We produce only 35 tons a year in this world. Why? We need only microgram quantities to stay healthy. That's the vitamin B12 that's needed for your body. Very simple molecules, huge volumes, very complex molecules. So this is typically what we do. We build the drugs and the dyes, the cables, the components of your cars, your smartphone, your clothes. Not in isolation, eh? Of course, chemistry, physics, material science, engineers come together to make this all possible for the modern world. And this is goodies. This is why we benefit and we have modern society. But of course there are big challenges to do things different in the future. But let me focus on one aspect where we are not very good at, and that is about motion. The fact that I can talk to you, and I can see you, and we can raise our hand and I can walk, is due to all these tiny machines in your body, nano machines. And as we are so good at making all these things, all these materials that make modern society, we were not very good at making anything that moves. So this is typically examples of the rotary motor in your body, the bacteria flagella motor that makes the bacteria swim in your body, the ribosome which makes all the proteins in your body, the optical switching process in your eye, the fact that I can see you and you can see me. This is nanotechnology in modern nature, in your own body. So this was mentioned, introduced molecular nanotechnology already in the 50s, late 50s, by Richard Feynman, a very famous physicist, who said there is plenty of room at the bottom. What he meant is, in electronics, we go down and down and down, computer chips, more information stored, smaller sizes, now to about 10 nanometers or so. But instead, what Mother Nature does is building up with molecules, bottom up. And that is what he meant. And it took 50 years, again, before we could make the first tiny machines. And I had the great honor and privilege to get a call from Stockholm, together with my colleagues here, as you see, Jean-Pierre Sauvage and Fraser Stoddard. And let me share you a little bit of my story there in the coming minutes. But first, nanotechnology for everybody, for some people that might have forgotten the dimensions. 1 nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. So when I take one hair here, the cross-section of my hair is 80,000 nanometers. It's really big, and it can hold 250 million letters. You can write 250 million letters when you write at the molecular level. Of course, these developments in nanoscience spans many disciplines at academia and research institutes. And one of the crucial elements is the development of new microscopes. That is to say, scanning probe microscopes. Yeah? Like a tip of a needle, that you can have one atom at the end, and you can even feel and see and move one atom or one molecule. That was not possible 40, 50 years ago when I started my studies. Because it's not about micro, it's about nano, the scale of atoms and molecules. And this makes it possible that we can now see and feel and manipulate molecules, for instance, on surfaces. So, my study started when I was a young professor with building molecular switches, and the whole idea was information storage at the molecular level. Optical computing, like with our eyes. Because in our eyes, you all know what a switch is, 0101. That's in your laptop, in your computer. But this is in your eye. This molecule, that is a band molecule, and it switches to a linear molecule when light hits your eye. And there are millions and millions of these molecules in your eye, and the fact that I can see you and you can see me is due to this switching process, back and forth, back and forth. Of course it should go back and forth, otherwise I would see you only once, and then it would be finished. It is a switch, 0101. It's just a change of a small molecule of 1 nanometer in size. And we thought, can we use it to make an information storage system? And this is actually what we did. We built artificial molecules, and we used them for storing information, zeros and ones. And you see here some devices that we produced based on these molecules. You might say, why do we need synthetic molecules? Why not using the molecules from your eye? But of course, the biological systems are too sensitive. You cannot build a computer with the retinal from your eye, because they are oxidized or degraded. You have to make a robust molecular system. And this is the kind of materials that we make. And you can switch them with light back and forth and write information at the molecular level. There is still some serious issues here to come to practicality. Yeah? So we team up with engineers and with physics people and so to see if we can make real devices. But I will share you one small story today, what we have recently done in recent years, and that is to use these systems to make smart drugs. We all sometimes need a pharmaceutical. Yeah, a drug, a pharmaceutical for health. And we thought, can we do precision therapy? That is to say, to make pharmaceuticals, drugs, that we can switch on and off with light, to have high precision in therapy. So you must imagine, you have an infection here, you take an antibiotic, the antibiotic goes everywhere in your body, also harms your normal good bacteria in your guts. But what we want is that antibiotic doesn't do anything unless I hit it with the lamp here, and exactly in this spot we activate it and we get it working. Smart drugs that we can activate with light exactly on the spot. So we have a big program for a couple of years now, together with the doctors at the medical school, the biochemists, the medical people, etc. And to work on two important problems. That is bacterial resistance. So to activate antibiotics, because we all know that bacterial resistance is a serious problem. We all face the COVID crisis, but the World Health Organization tells us that antibiotic resistance, that antibiotics don't work anymore, is a serious issue in this world. Already 1.6 million people die every year of tuberculosis that cannot properly be treated. So we have to do something. And of course, cancer treatment. We all know that chemotherapy, you get all these nasty side effects. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we have a chemotherapeutic drug that we can activate exactly where the tumor is and you don't get all these side effects? Does it work, ladies and gentlemen? Here you see some of our results. We make an antibiotic that's used in the clinic. We build in a light switch. We can switch it on and off. And what you see here is a petri dish with bacteria growing. And you see where we cover it with light, the bacteria don't grow, and when we irradiate the bacteria, when we irradiate the bacteria don't grow, and where we are covering the bacteria, thrown on. So we can switch on and off an antibacterial agent, a drug, with light, with high precision. And we are now doing studies towards tissue and see if we can go into the patients in the near future. This is just one example, how you can make a smart drug, high precision therapy, using nanotechnology, in this case a switch, to make this possible. And of course this whole field, to put it in the right perspective, is exploding, because we all learn about DNA nanotechnology. We all learn about rewiring the brain with optogenetics. We do photopharmacology, using light to make precision therapy, using nanotechnology. And of course, network complexity, that's another big issue, you know, how to deal with this complexity of all these networks in a living system, to get much better treatment in the future. So this is health technology. But what about molecular motors, ladies and gentlemen? Because a switch is not a motor, eh? A switch goes back and forth, that's nice. You can switch on the light. But what about a motor? We all know when something moves. When I move here, when I raise my hands, this is due to all these motors and machines in my body. What people not always understand is that it pushes a system out of equilibrium. I sometimes see on television, or I read in the magazines, be in equilibrium. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't. Be in harmony or balance. But don't be in equilibrium, because a biological system in equilibrium is dead. I'm sorry. Then you are not alive anymore. So these machines put things out of equilibrium. And this is the most beautiful molecular motor in the world. This is a nanomachine motor. You might think these guys that have Formula 1 races, you know, they have and I'm sure you have a fantastic car, you know. I was in Professor Miranda's car, you know, he has a beautiful car. And I think he's proud of his motor in his car. But these are the motors in your body, the ATPase rotary motor. Millions and millions make it possible that you are alive, because they produce the energy, the ATP in your body. You know how much they produce? Did you ever give it a thought? These tiny machines, almost half your body weight. Can you imagine? Every day, every 24 hours, these machines produce half your body weight almost of ATP, the fuel. Now, I enjoy the Slovakian food very much, beautiful, but I don't eat half my body weight every day. It is all recycled, of course, most of the components. Can you imagine? We are discussing about recycling all the time. This is a hot topic, for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not smart enough. Your body recycles almost half your body weight every day. We simply have to see how we can use this kind of principles to recycle our materials, to make a sustainable society in the future. So what were the fundamental questions to make a rotary motor? These were the fundamental questions. How to control rotary motion, and how to control left and right. Of course, you have to put energy in there. Eh? Think of your car. If there's no fuel or no electricity, you will not move your car. But if you have equal probability to go forward and backward, you will not get anywhere either. Eh? Either it has to go forward or backward, clockwise or counterclockwise. How do we solve that problem? At the molecular level. We take advantage of chirality, left or right. And the most beautiful example is the right-handed helix of DNA. It was called, by nature, the Mona Lisa of modern science. Chirality is an essential feature of life. The amino acids are left-handed, the DNA is right-handed. So what we did is, we built the tiniest motor in this world. Here it is. You see it rotating. The energy comes from the light. It's a light-driven motor. It rotates, as you can see, continuously. It's 1 nanometer in size. And it rotates in one direction, because we build it either right-handed or left-handed. And that dictates if it goes clockwise or counterclockwise. So yes, we built this motor, and a combination of 4 steps make it rotate in 360 degrees. This is really engineering at the molecular level, nano-engineering. So now we have a motor that can be powered by light. It can rotate. And I will share you a few examples what we did recently with this. First of all, about synchronization and transmission. Because I know there are many engineers here, and we all know when you want to build a machine, you have to synchronize motion also, couple motion. And my students, we had a discussion in my labs, and they looked at the moon, and they said, look, let's synchronize motion. You see here synchronized motions. Two components, you know, this is all driven by light, but the two components rotate with respect to each other, and it's all controlled. Now you might ask, are these students in Groningen, these PhD students, so romantic that they look at the moon all the time? Or maybe they do, I don't know, maybe in the evening. But the typical thing about the moon is, we all know that the moon rotates around the earth and you will see always the same phase. This is synchronized motion. And this is exactly what you see. This is what we recently developed, a stepping stone to more complex machinery, where we couple machines, where we couple machine-like functions. But this was one of the most exciting moments in my career. What we did is, we took a motor and we doped a tiny amount in a liquid crystal. You all know liquid crystal materials, your display, your smartphones, your flat screen, your TV, this screen in front of me. These are these rod-like molecules, and they are organized like this, like beams in a river. But when you put a diol molecule like our motor, you get a helix. And the helical organization, ladies and gentlemen, the contraction or the expansion of the helix makes color pixels, red, blue. This is how color pixels are formed in your display material. And we thought, what if we put our motor there and we rotate, can we contract and expand? And this is exactly what it happens. You see all these nice colors. You can make all the color pixels within a minute. But then, the key problem, the key challenge, can you amplify motion from the level of a molecule all the way up? And I will never forget, and I'm sure you all had such kind of experience sometimes in your research. This was an eureka moment, because my students said, please come to the lab and look at this. What they had done, they had a thin layer of this material, this display material, and put a glass rod there. You see the dimension of the glass rod is 10,000 times the size of the molecular motor. And they switched on the light, and this is what you see. I saw the object spinning. I saw the color change. The whole surface is changing. So now we have surfaces and materials that change. When you hit them with light, you put in the energy of the light. You see the color change, you see the object, and it rotates clockwise. We can also rotate it counterclockwise. So now we amplify the mechanical effect from the nanoscale all the way to micro and up to macro dimensions. And then very recently, and we are very excited about this, we put them in polymers that have similar kind of liquid crystal properties, like in the displays. And you see, we can bend now, we can make artificial muscles. We're looking now to materials that we can use for soft robotics. And in the bottom here, ladies and gentlemen, you see a piece of plastic that we can walk over the table. Now, I'm not sure if you have plastic or a plastic bag that it can walk over the table. But we have now a piece of plastic with our motors in it. And when we irradiate the light, they move over the surface towards soft robotics of the future. So I'm from the Netherlands, and on my way up here, coming from Vienna, I saw many windmills. In Holland we have a lot of wind, and we have also beautiful windmills. So we thought, let's build a windmill. So this is the classic windmills. Above you see the typical modern windmills. And we thought, let's build a nano windmill. Not powered by wind, by the way, but by sunlight. So we built it, the motor, with legs on gold, on different surfaces. And so we have now a nano windmill park. The ancestors in Holland, probably many of you have seen them, the classical windmills that were built 500 years ago. They are 20, 30 meters high. We built them 1 billion times smaller. A layer on the surface, and everything moves in the same direction. A nano windmill park. So why is this good for? Because I get this question, I'm sure many of you get this question. What do these professors and these researchers at the university do? Are they playing nano windmills? What's good for? But of course you realize, once you make responsive surfaces and coatings, you can make glass. Yes, there are now many groups in the world that work on this to make glass that cleans itself. You don't have to clean your windows anymore. Solar panels that clean themselves. Yeah? Wings of airplanes. You don't have to defrost again. Or cars. You don't have to wash them anymore. This is a bit science fiction still, but in the future it will come. Because we have the technologies now to make things moving. Responsive. Things that repair themselves. We have made the first pieces of plastic that you can cut. And they repair themselves after 10 minutes. Imagine you have a scratch in your car, ladies and gentlemen. You don't like that. You have to go to the garage. But when you have such systems, maybe not based on my motors, but it's about the fundamental principles. Maybe in 30 years from now, the scratch will repair itself, just like the scratch in your finger. That's the future. So my final example is about the nano car. Because I got a grant from the government and I had to explain to the Minister of Science and Education, what are you going to do with this grant? And we discussed with our students and we decided to see how we can make rotational motion into translational motion, to move something. So this is what we designed. A nano car. You all know about these solar powered cars? We thought, let's build a nano car. 1 million times smaller. 2 meters, we built it 2 nanometers. And we built a 4-wheel drive. You see, 4 of the wheels are rotary motors. And this was tricky, because you had to make them moving, concerted, so that you can move forward. And yes, it works. It moves. You see it moving there? That's the nano car, 2 nanometers in size, and it moves over a surface. And now there is an important message. When you engineer at the nano scale, the world is a bit different from the micro machines. The car on the street moves different from all these motors in your muscles. There are millions of motors that make it possible that I can move like this. And also my car moves a little bit different. You see, it steps, it walks over the surface, just like in biology. So you see in the picture, thanks to these new microscopes, we can build this car and it moves. And if you don't believe me, I borrowed this movie from Harvard. This is what happens now in your body, in your cells, ladies and gentlemen. You see, the highway from here to Vienna is built, and when your car is passing by, it's broken down and they build a new highway. It's all dynamic. This is happening inside your cells now. They build a highway. And look how they are going to transport. This happens millions of times now in your body. I cannot believe when I saw it for the first time. So maybe our system is not so bad. And look, this is a modern electric car, a Tesla. This is our nano car. You see, in this tube, this tiny powder, this is typically what we do chemistry now. These are the molecules, 1 million times 1 million identical nanocars. I think, okay, we all like the car manufacturing plants. I'm always impressed. But I think our car manufacturing plant is not so bad, all these identical nanocars. So I shared a brief story about my excitement for science and a few aspects of my adventure in the nano world. So we start with Mother Nature that we admire, and we go from molecules to dynamic molecular systems, smart drugs, synchronized motion, molecular machines. We can make translational motion, and we can make artificial muscles for soft robotics in the future. So hopefully, I give you an impression of what can be done in the future. This is a little bit, this is basic science still, But I said already, we cooperate with biologists, we cooperate with physics, we cooperate with engineers to make this possible to bring to the next step. to incorporate, to make smart windows, smart materials, new medicines of the future. But let me finish with this question: will we have nano robots that go to your blood vein, that the doctor will use in the hospital, yeah, to detect a tumor or to deliver a drug at a specific position? I predict that in 50 years from now, yes, the surgeon will inject a nano robot in your body to go to detect for a defect or deliver or to do a repair. But this is still, we know to make the first steps. We know how to make tiny machines and make movement and control it. But I'm not good in prediction, because we all know the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And that is what we all do together with our students, together with the young talents. And this is what I want to finish with, to acknowledge my young talents, all the students, PhDs, young researchers that make it possible that we can do this. They enter this adventure, and through this adventure, we educate them for the future. And with that, I want to mention that our duty here at the universities is to open windows to the future. And don't underestimate the role of teaching, how important it is to shape the future with our young talents, the next generation that will make the sustainable society of the future. And I want to finish with a quote of my hero. In the art of building small, my hero Leonardo da Vinci said 500 years ago, when nature finishes producing its own species, man begins, with the help of nature, to create an infinity of species. And especially for the young talent here in the audience, imagine the unimaginable. And with that, I want once again to thank you all for the great honor, the fine cooperation and the friendship and hospitality, but in particular, I'm extremely honored with this doctorate at this university, and I look forward to our joint future. Thank you so much.